So what is tonight's episode about?
1992.
Ah! I have a surprise for you. Check this out.
Live from the studios of Volunteer State Community College in Gallatin, Tennessee, this is the Top 30 of 1992.
Wow.
Featuring the Darren and Chris Choice Awards. Now,
Vintage.
the hard rock gurus themselves, Darren Fush and Chris Barrington.
That's right, that is me. And
Does that sound familiar?
I say it does.
Good day, how's it going? Welcome to the second annual 1992
Actual tape.
the year 1992 in retrospective and hard rock.
George Lynch on
heavy
guitar.
metal. Count down the top
Doctor,
30. Count
this is
them.
scary.
30 songs of 1992 on this very radio station. This is, you can just feel the excitement.
Does this bring back memories?
Can't you?
Man,
the
does it.
tension is so thick you can cut it with a hot butter knife.
Maybe that I have gas real bad, but we'll find out before the night's over.
You got to start somewhere, right?
Let's get right down to business right now. 1992, first of all, was a great year for hard rock
Excellent.
and heavy metal, as heavy metal took off in a lot of crazy, weird new directions, which I thought was great.
I did too.
It broke the monotony that it had been suffering from the last few years, all through the 80s, in my opinion.
Yes, definitely.
And looking to exciting days ahead. Are we?
Yeah.
But it's always fun to look back at a great year in hard rock, and let's get to it right now. Our number 30 song.
Hello and welcome to the Darkened Room of Music Conversation. Today it's all about 1992. I'm Chris.
And I'm Darren.
And when history looks back at the early 90s, 91, 92, you know, it talks about the grunge rock and Seattle movement just changing things overnight and taking over the world.
Correct.
But for those of us who lived during that time and saw it happen, it's not really how it went down.
Not at all.
Yeah. You know, there was a changing of the guard for sure,
Yep.
but it was a gradual changing
It
of
was.
the guard. And as you heard in the clip at the very beginning, we're going to reveal that top 30 countdown. We're kind of going to go over that,
Yeah.
and you'll see that the old school hair metal, heavy metal stuff was still clinging on and living happily right next along with the alternative grunge movement on rock radio.
And in the words of Kurt Cobain, did it burn out or did it fade away?
Ah, we'll find out.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so before we get started into that, let's do what we do with every year that we look back on. Talk about the birthdays.
Sure.
People born in 1992.
This is going to be
Are
a
you
crazy
ready for
list.
this?
I'm ready.
Yeah, all right. So Borns, which is an alternative act.
Yep.
I really like them a lot. The guy Borns,
Yep.
he was born that year. Mac Miller, who actually passed away recently
Yeah.
in 2018,
Yeah.
born in 1992. Travis Scott, Sam Smith, great singer.
Love Sam Smith.
Yeah. Marshmello, who's
Yeah.
the DJ that wears the marshmallow
Marshmallow
head.
head.
Yeah, I like some of his
Yeah, I
stuff.
do
Yeah.
too.
Sage the Gemini, a rapper, of course. Rich the Kid, also a rapper. Bishop Briggs.
Yep.
Selena Gomez was born in 1992.
How about that?
Tori Lanez was born that year. Charlie XCX, 1992 alum. Frances Bean Cobain
Wow.
was born in 1992.
Interesting.
How about that?
Yeah, I remember when she was born.
I do too.
Yeah.
Vividly, yeah. Demi Lovato was born that year.
My favorite on the list so far.
All right. Well, Nick Jonas as well. Cardi B was born that year. 21 Savage. Miley Cyrus
Miley Cyrus
was
okay.
born in 1992.
She's winning me over, by the way.
She is me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's, you know, she went through her stuff. She
Yeah.
had issues, of course, but
Yeah.
I think she's learned from her past. So,
Yeah.
and Tori Kelly was born this year as
Very
well.
cool.
Yeah. So there's your births.
Nice.
Your births.
Your births.
Whatever you want to call it. All right, ready to jump in?
Well, let's jump in and jump around. I'll jump it around. No, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That came out that year.
It sure did.
House of Pain.
And so did Crisscross's.
Crisscross Jump also
Will
came
make
out
you
that
want
year.
to jump.
Right.
Well,
right.
warm it up, Chris.
All right, so you look back at 1992. If you look at the pop
You're
charts.
supposed to say, I said, warm it up, Chris.
I'm about to.
Okay.
Sorry, that one almost flew right over me. If you look at the pop charts, it's like you could barely tell that the Seattle movement had happened.
Right.
Smells Like Teen Spirit was in the top 5.
Yes, it was.
And there was a few others too. I think Red Hot Chili Peppers made the
Yeah.
top 10.
Under the Bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But if you look at the number one singles, you couldn't tell.
You would never know. You would think it's 1989.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson's on the chart here.
Yep.
Black and White. Color Me Bad was on here. The George Michael, Elton John collaboration, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
I love that one.
Yeah, and look at some of this other stuff on here. Right Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy was
Yeah.
this year. Mr. Big had a hit with To Be With You,
Yeah.
which we're going to touch on the hair metal movement
Yep.
as well in this particular year. Then you had your soft AC stuff. You had Vanessa Williams.
The most beautiful woman ever, by the way.
I actually like this song.
I
Save
love
the
that
best for
song.
long.
I think
This
it's
is a great song. It's
I remember
beautiful.
your dirty version of that, but we'll-
Yeah, we won't talk about that. Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back was that year.
Yeah.
That's a great song. Then you had like Boyz II Men. You had Whitney Houston's with I Will Always Love You. Probably that was the biggest hit that year.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for that soundtrack, Nirvana's Nevermind would have been the #1 selling album of the year.
Right.
But it turned out to be the Bodyguard
And
soundtrack.
let me say this: I was in music retail at the time, and
Yeah.
that Bodyguard soundtrack, and when that song was at its peak, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just how much of that thing sold. And then the thing that about Nirvana that I thought was so cool, and we can touch on this a little bit more later, is
Yeah.
that the industry didn't see that coming.
No,
And
not
that
at all.
and that was actually pretty cool. I was in music retail, like I say. We could always kind of tell, you would get boxes of stuff and go like, this is some dude named Snow, for instance. What the heck is
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Why do we got 100 of these? We got one cassette and one CD of Nirvana at a major retail chain.
There you
that
go.
I was working at. They did not see it coming.
Wow.
And everybody under the sun within 48 hours is coming in asking for it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about where you and I were in 1992. Our musical taste at the time. We had just started doing the radio show together. As you heard at the beginning, that was the second annual Top 30 Countdown. So we'd probably been doing radio together for what, 3 years at that point?
Yeah,
maybe?
at least.
Yeah. So you introduced me to a lot of more of
heavier stuff.
the heavier stuff, the
what I was
hard
into.
rock. And, I was really getting into that.
Yeah.
I really loved it. But I was also listening to The Cure and REM.
Yeah, and you
know.
got me into some of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's very cool.
So I was very into that. And because of that, and seeing this transition, 1992 is actually my favorite year in music.
Wow, of all time.
To have actually been there to witness.
Yeah.
Yes. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was a monumental year.
Yeah, it really was. And so the heavy metal stuff that we were listening to at the time, in fact, playing on our radio show,
Yeah.
like Exodus, Force of Habit came out that year. Good Day to Die was a great song. Yeah.
I love that one.
Megadeth. Now, these are the ones that are going to make an impact in 1992. Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction had a huge year that year.
Yep.
And then some things that were released in the previous year that made a big impact in 92 as well
Right.
was Metallica's Black Album
It was hanging on forever.
and Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears.
Same with
Still
that.
having hits on rock radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, other bands like Iron Maiden and Testament, they were releasing stuff that was
Yeah.
actually really good. And we were really, really into this
We
stuff.
were, and don't forget Pantera, Vulgar Display
Pantera.
of Power.
Oh, that was, yeah.
I think their best album.
Pantera's finest moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were into that. And then when Nirvana came
Couldn't
along.
get enough of it.
Couldn't get enough. Yeah. Nirvana came along and shook things up.
Right, and the first time I heard Nirvana, I heard the last half of "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah.
you were playing it.
Ah, there you go.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember driving in my car. I was meeting you at the radio station. We were doing a show, but you were already on the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I don't recognize this. I bet this is that song everybody's been talking about.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you came on and said, hey, that was Nirvana. I'm like, wow. So
There
I
you
remember
go.
that first time I
All
heard
right.
it.
So we're going to detail that a little bit more coming up.
All right.
Yeah, so before we move on to the grunge movement, let's talk about where hair metal was.
Right.
A lot of these bands, things were starting to get a little stale in that world.
Yes.
And I think these bands could sense that, and they were trying to evolve a little bit.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Now, some stuff that came out that year that I thought was fantastic, that I really loved, was Dream Theater, Images and Words.
Yeah.
That was an awesome album.
I remember the first time I played that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of remember that too.
Yeah.
I thought it was just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Extreme, 3 Sides to Every Story was
Great
their
record.
follow-up to Pornograffiti.
Yep.
Hardline, which was a great project. Yeah, Neil
Yeah.
Sean was in that.
Yep.
I loved King's X
Yeah.
when they released their self-titled
I still
album
love
that year.
King's X, yeah.
Oh, that was a great moment. And Unruly Child was a surprise.
Yeah.
That's one of those bands that a lot of people aren't even familiar with to this day.
Right.
But I really, really loved it.
Yeah, the whole album was great. Produced by Bo Hill, who actually did a lot of that like
Yeah.
Rat, Round and Round, and all that stuff. And the
Yeah.
singer, Mark Free, who, by the way, we won't get into this. He's Marcy, or she is Marcy Free now.
That is right. Yeah.
Right. But she had previously been the singer of King Cobra, a band that I loved a whole lot.
Yeah.
Also the singer of Signal. And so it was kind of a super group. I also had a member of Stone Fury in it as well, the guitar player. And Stone Fury, the lead singer, that was the Kingdom Come singer. So it was like an all-star band of a lot of different people.
There you go. Everything you wanted to know about Unruly Child.
Check it out, though. It's a fun album.
Definitely check it out.
Yep.
Yeah. Some other notable things that year, Firehouse.
Yeah.
Their release, Hold Your Fire, sounded like a more mature sound.
For
it was
sure.
a little bit evolved.
Right.
And I thought it was much better than their first release.
Yeah, and David Prater produced that, who also produced Dream Theater. So
Yeah, there you go.
they were trying, yeah.
Kiss made a little bit of a comeback that year with Revenge.
That was their best record in 10 years. And I
Yeah.
know Bruce Kulick, and he's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I love the Revenge album.
That was it was awesome.
Even to this day, I think it's great.
It had such a hard edge to it.
Yeah.
It's gritty. I mean, it was really,
and
really
Bruce
good.
Kulick kicked ass on that record.
Yeah. And probably the most evolved hair metal band of
Yeah.
that year would have been Warrant with Dog Eat Dog.
Yeah.
It was a much different, mature
mature.
sound
Yeah.
than their first release.
Heavier, darker,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah, it was great. And
Yeah.
so the old staples were still hanging around, and
Yeah.
their efforts, I would say that they kind of came a little short,
Right.
in my opinion.
Sure.
I liked Bon Jovi when they first came out,
Yeah.
but the further along they got in their career, I was like, this is I'm not interested.
Just
anymore.
didn't age well with you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Keep the Faith came out that year, and it really wasn't a hair metal band
Not at all.
I mean, it was very mainstream, middle of the road,
Yep.
designed for pop radio for sure.
Yes.
And then Def Leppard's Adrenalize. Yeah,
You didn't dig it.
I did not dig it at
didn't
all.
dig it, yeah.
It seemed like just a formulaic recopying of Hysteria.
Sure.
So, but probably the biggest release that year, and I believe we both stood in line at Tower Records at midnight to buy
remember this.
these collections. Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was an awesome moment. That actually came out in 91.
Right.
But again, like the others that I'd mentioned, still making a huge impact in 1992.
For sure. And I see on the list, too, one that I wanted to mention, the Lynch Mob.
Yeah.
George Lynch's band.
Oh, yeah.
The second record. I just really, really thought that was a great, great album.
That was a great album, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get along now to the main event.
Yeah.
1991, Nirvana's Nevermind was released. And again, historians look back on it and the way they talk about it, you would think that it was just a switch.
Right.
But it really, really wasn't.
No.
It actually lived quite happily along with this other stuff that we've mentioned on rock and hard rock radio.
Right.
And it was amazing to watch. You could see the interest in that music start to dwindle and the interest in the newer alternative rock start to grow.
Correct.
Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, really, really fit in. I mean, if you remember, I predicted that they would both live happily, harmoniously.
You did.
Yeah.
I remember that. And I didn't see it so much. You were saying, I think some of this heavier alternative stuff would sound just fine next to Guns N' Roses or Metallica or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. I was kind of lost in my little metal world.
Yeah.
But in the end, you were correct. And I did like it once I got exposed to that.
Right.
know.
And, some of the heavier stuff that came out that year, Alice in Chains' Dirt, was just...
monumental.
It was a metally record.
Yes.
I mean, it was definitely, Seattle grunge kind of band, but they were rocking out hard.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when Facelift came out, it didn't have quite the edge that Dirt did.
Yeah, well, Dave Jordan produced Alice in Chains, and he had also worked with, Anthrax, for instance. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of stuff came out in actually 91 that made an impact in 92. No one paid attention to it until Nirvana came out.
this is very true.
Nirvana, of course, was at the end of the year in 1991.
Yeah.
But prior to Nevermind being released, Pearl Jam's 10 was released.
It was first.
It was first, yeah. And it kind of hung back, and when this new sound started to come out, they gained traction on the coattails of it.
Well said.
Yeah. Also, let's see what else. The Temple of the Dog release was before.
It was 91.
Was 91
Yeah.
as well. And Bad Motorfinger from Soundgarden.
We saw them on that tour.
We did, yeah. Didn't they open for for Megadeth?
They opened for Skid Row.
Skid Row, that's right. It was Stone Temple Pilots that opened for Megadeth.
Correct.
And we got to see them. We got. Were you at the Van Halen show?
Yes, with
Where
Alice in Chains.
Chains opened.
Yep, I sure was.
So
Yep.
we got to see those acts back then.
Yeah,
when
before
they
they
were
were-
opening acts. They were already popular,
Right.
but not to the extent that everyone was,
And it was kind of interesting that, and this is, once again, kind of like proves your point.
Mm-hmm.
Even the established metal acts were taking these guys on the road.
They were, yeah.
They didn't feel that threatened by it, I don't think.
That's true.
And
and the funny thing is I remember so many people who were like fans of the hair metal and the heavy metal stuff.
Yeah.
They were wanting to dismiss this. Like this is just a fad, it's a trend.
Right.
And in a way it kind of was if you look further into the 90s.
Yeah.
This style of alternative didn't really hang around forever. But it did change the whole landscape of pop.
It did.
And rock radio.
Well, I was going to say, too, I remember, you've heard me mention this before. You can find this on YouTube, I'm sure.
Yeah.
John Bon Jovi was interviewed by Bob Costas.
Yeah.
And this had to be in 92. No later than 93. And the topic of this grunge movement kind of came up, the whole Seattle thing. And John made the point, 10 years from now, there will be about 3 of those bands left that you could sit here and interview and talk to.
Yeah.
And he was kind of right.
He was kind of right, yeah.
I mean, it had its impact, but then it moved on, kind of like the pop metal and Bon Jovi and Whitesnake and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like really, really good heavy metal sounding stuff that was falling into this category, like Helmet.
Yes.
Meantime, that unsung song, that was so good.
I still love it. Never tire of it.
Yeah. Ministry Psalm 69.
Yep.
We'd call that industrial metal.
For sure.
That was one of my favorite albums that year.
Yep.
Of course, Nine Inch Nails was just starting to make their impact.
Yeah.
And they've hung around a long time.
Sure.
Even to this day.
Sure.
Rage Against the Machine. Their self-titled release was out that year as well. And White Zombie, Rob Zombie got his start in 1992 with La Sexorcisto.
Yeah, they actually had an album that predated that one, but that's the one that really catapulted them to the mainstream.
And it's probably because of this whole movement of the heavier alternative stuff that people started paying attention to it because people liked this new style. They wanted to dig and find all the other stuff that was kind of in that vein.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was kind of weird to me that like Faith No More, they released Angel Dust that year. And that's a band I never thought they got quite as big as they should have gotten.
I agree.
And it's really odd to me because they had everything. They had, first off, a great singer.
Yeah,
who could sing any kind of style. He could do the kind of the harder metal stuff, but they had just a lot of weird stuff too that the alternative people dug. So I don't know if it was management or the label kind of screwed it up, but it's really weird. In retrospect, they should have been bigger.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so how was rock radio handling all this? It's amazing, that so many people. Again, I can't make this point enough. You think back to the early '90s and the grunge movement. You think everything changed overnight. And if you look at our top 30 hard rock countdown on our radio station, we did the end of the year countdown, you could see everything was living together harmoniously.
Yes, it was.
And it was a slow and gradual change.
Right.
It wasn't just all of a sudden.
It wasn't a burnout.
Yeah. So we're going to reveal the top 30 right now for that year, end of year. These were the top songs on the radio station at the college where we were.
Wow.
And, so you want to hit up on the first one there?
Number 30 was the aforementioned Warrant and Machine Gun.
Yes. Much more mature sound.
Yeah.
Queensryche, their album Empire was released the previous year, but anybody listening just scraped the bottom of the top 30 that year. So Queensryche's still on the rock radio.
Fabulous song. Have you ever needed someone so bad, Def Leppard? Well, you know what you got with that. That was just your typical power ballad.
Yeah.
But it was those kind of songs were still making an impact and being on the charts. You know? So,
You look later into the 90s, that style of power ballad
was completely gone.
From rock radio, at least.
Yeah.
Every now and then you'd hear it pop up on pop radio.
Yep.
Go like way into the future. You think about Aerosmith with Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Yep.
So, that style still had a place in the pop world, but not as frequently. It definitely was going to be gone from rock radio before long.
For sure.
So we get to number 27, and now we hit Nirvana with Lithium. They came in at number 27 with that.
All right, Unsung, we talked about that from
Yeah.
Helmet, was 26 on our list.
That's right. And another power ballad hanging in there at number 25 was Just Take My Heart from Mr. Big.
I like that song.
I do too, yeah. I don't think it's aged well with me, though.
Yeah.
So
Wildlife from Slaughter. A
Slaughter.
song that you never hear anymore, but back then it was getting played.
yeah, look at this Slaughter living harmoniously next to Faith No More at number 23 with Midlife Crisis. That was a great song.
Still love that
Yeah.
one. Neighbor by Ugly Kid Joe.
Ugly Kid Joe.
That
yeah.
was novelty all the way.
Oh, yeah.
But it was still fun.
It was
still a lot of fun.
They always made me laugh.
Yeah, same here. But then they did Cats in the Cradle, right?
They did, yeah.
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 Strange.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 21 was Ozzy Osbourne, Time After Time. Like I said, released the previous year, still hanging on.
Right.
And hitting the charts in rock radio.
Another power ballad, Love Is on the Way, Saigon Kick. That thing got played to death.
Oh, God, yeah. It was worn out.
I'm still tired of it, just from even back then.
No, I loved that album. It was The Lizard, right?
Yeah, great album.
I remember I went to see them at 328 Performance Hall.
Yeah.
You were there too.
I was there.
And, of course, this Love Is on the Way had been released, and I'm like, okay, well, it's probably not going to be such the hardcore metal crowd. It's going to be couples who like the love song. They're going to show up.
People were slam dancing.
We were like, 3 rows from the stage?
Yeah.
And everything started to move like this.
Yeah.
And I finally got out of there when the lead singer stood up on the monitors and leaped over my head. I'm like, that's enough for me.
The metal days.
That's a fond memory, yeah. So Metallica, of course, making a huge impact this year. Sad But True comes in at number 19.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeremy from Pearl Jam. The first we've heard of Pearl Jam was 18 for that
That's
year.
right. And that was also our pick for the best new artist that year.
Yeah.
That's funny. Come As You Are, Nirvana was number 17.
Still love that one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Unholy, Kiss, and we also crowned them Comeback Artist of the Year.
Yeah.
Because that was a huge comeback for them.
It was, yeah. As far as comeback albums, that I would still agree with that. That was
Yeah.
probably the biggest comeback that year for
and
sure.
I still love it.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs from Alice in Chains came in number 15.
One of my favorite songs in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that song.
It would rank up there for me, too. That's another one of those songs that I must turn to 11 when I hear it come on.
And speaking of that, Foreclosure of a Dream from Megadeth. What a kick-ass song.
Yeah.
And we also crowned that, was it Album of the Year for that
Album
year?
of the Year,
Wow.
yeah.
That was a good one.
It's kind of ironic that their album was called Countdown to Extinction because
I never thought of that.
in 1992,
Yeah.
that was kind of, things were starting to fade for them. Still seeing success, as you can
Sure.
see. But it was that, as far as a mainstream hard rock in that world, Countdown. Countdown's on.
How about Foreclosure of a Dream?
You're right.
It's like, how fitting.
So the next one was another big comeback that year because of a little movie called Wayne's World.
And also because the singer passed away the year previous.
That is true, yeah. So you put those two things together and you get at number 13 for the entire year, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen.
Love it.
Yeah.
But man, it was really weird hearing that on pop radio.
Yeah.
In the early 90s. It was just really strange.
You heard it everywhere. You heard it on rock radio, hard
sure
rock radio
did.
even.
You
So,
sure
yeah,
did.
It was crazy.
Soundgarden, Outshined. Wow, what a great song. Great
loved
band.
that song. Yeah. And probably the most hardest hitting song on this countdown was Them Bones
Love it.
by Alice in Chains.
Great song.
We always describe that as a punch in the face kind of song.
This is true. Everything About You, another joke song from Ugly Kid Joe.
Yeah, they made 2 songs on the list. It was crazy, yeah. But that was a funny song.
Yeah, it was.
It wore thin fast, though.
It did.
Yeah. Hunger Strike from Temple of the Dog came in at number 9.
Yep.
Yeah, the collaboration with, Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell. They did a little supergroup thing among all the groups.
And I still like that one.
Yeah, I do too. That one and Say Hello to Heaven was great as well.
That one's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Mama, I'm Coming Home, Ozzy Osbourne. We also crowned him the Artist of the Year that year. So
Ozzy Osbourne was the Artist of the Year
Yeah.
in 1992.
Yeah.
And if you were looking back, you would think, wouldn't that be Nirvana?
Yeah.
Or Pearl Jam? But no, it was Ozzy Osbourne.
Exactly.
Back to our point.
Yeah.
Number 7, Metallica's ballad, Nothing Else Matters. At least their attempt at a ballad. I thought it was cool.
I still love it.
Yeah.
Even Flow, Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
That was a really, really rocking song, I felt at the time.
It was.
And once again, as it's just crazy as we go through the remainder of the list, just listen to the diversity here.
Right.
It's so strange.
So you got Pearl Jam sandwiched between Metallica and the number 5 song, Megadeth.
Yep.
Symphony of Destruction.
And then Vince Neil was number 4. You're invited, but your friend can't come.
Yeah.
That was the first time Vince had been out on his own.
Yeah.
Doing solo stuff, and it was huge.
Broke off from Motley Crue after their big mega Dr. Feelgood selling album.
Yep.
So yeah, it was an effort. Number 3 was probably I remember when we compiled a list back then where we're tallying up all the songs. This one actually surprised me that it hit number 3.
Yeah.
But it got played a lot.
Sure did.
Extreme Rest in Peace.
It was great.
Yeah.
Great. I still enjoy
History
that.
maybe hasn't been kind to that song now because you never really hear it anymore. No one talks about it.
No.
But it's a fantastic song.
Sure is. And
you're-
that whole record is great. It's
Yeah.
a masterpiece, really.
If you're old enough to remember it, go back and revisit it. If you
Holds up.
If you're not old enough, check it out. You'd probably love it. It's
Right.
very good.
Number 2, November Rain by Guns N' Roses. Remember how much this thing got requested back then?
God.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And when they played it on the radio, most of the time they played the entire song.
Yeah. All 8
I know
minutes
we
or
did.
something.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah, and Guns N' Roses was also what I'm having a hard time.
Tour of the year.
Tour of the year.
Yeah. Didn't they tour with Metallica that year?
For a while, yeah.
Yeah.
And then something they didn't quite get
Things
along
didn't
with.
go well.
Right. But that tour was humongous.
It was huge.
Yes,
yeah.
it was.
The most talked about tour. And the number 1 song, which was also kind of surprising, all these hard-hitting metal songs.
Yep.
But the most popular song on rock radio was by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge.
Yeah, that's another one, man. They played it and played it and played it.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
Could not get away from that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a good song.
Yeah. So as you can see, if you think back to 1992, this list alone really paints the picture of how things really went down.
Right.
Things just didn't switch. Things didn't just disappear.
Right.
It just faded away. They lived happily together, but
Right.
one was going this way, one was going the other.
Right. And it was kind of a natural selection type process.
It was.
It
yeah.
really was. You could it kind of made, in retrospect, it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, you could kind of feel where it was going.
Yeah.
And but it was a lot more gradual than history would tell you, and we know because we were there.
We lived it.
Yes, we did.
Thanks for watching this episode of In a Darkened Room. You can find the link to this episode's companion Spotify playlist in the description. Darren and Chris welcome your comments. You can leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Follow In a Darkened Room on Twitter to receive updates and submit your ideas for what we should discuss in upcoming episodes. Darren and Chris are also on Instagram, so give them a follow there as well. All of these links can be found in the description below. While you're there, be sure to click subscribe and ring the bell.
All right, random topic time, and let's draw from the bowl.
Seems like we hadn't done that in a while. Let's do it.
All right, so you hang on to that. I'm going to draw out of it this time.
All right.
All right, you ready?
I love this game.
Yeah.
Draw us out a good one now.
All
Come
right,
on.
see what we
Quit goofing
got
off.
here. All right. A song you must crank to full volume.
I like this. All right, you
Yeah.
go first.
Okay, I'll go first. It's one that I actually haven't brought up on our show at all yet.
Okay.
And it might be one to surprise you because I'm not that big of a fan of this band.
Okay.
But this song, I don't know, it hits me like every time. It is AC/DC's For Those About to Rock.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that just the way it builds.
Yeah.
Songs
And
that
those
do that.
and the gunfire at the end, the
Yep.
cannons going off.
Yep.
Yeah, if you don't experience that at the point where your ears are about to bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you're at a AC/DC concert, because I actually saw them once.
Yeah.
It's like you want to do this, you know.
Yeah.
You just can't, it's just a
Yeah.
natural thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great.
So
choice.
yeah, if that song ever comes on the radio, if I'm listening to the radio at the time,
yeah.
gotta crank it up.
Love it. All right, my ultimate crank up song. It's kind of weird. I like songs that when I think of a song I want to crank up, I usually want something with a lot of depth. That's just me.
Yeah.
Because I really want to feel the music all the way through.
Yeah.
Gonna Raise Hell by Cheap Trick.
Oh, yeah.
That's my ultimate crank up song.
That's a great choice,
all
too.
the orchestration, and when it breaks down with the the drums and the little dung 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 dung, and then the orchestration comes back in and it rebuilds and gets all loud. I just love it, man.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Let us know what your Crank to 11 song is as well. Drop it in the comments.
Yes.
And tell your friends about us. Spread the word. Subscribe. Hit the like button.
This was a fun episode.
Oh, this was great. Yeah.
I love
1992 was my favorite year in music.
Yeah.
And I loved sharing it with you guys. So I really appreciate you hanging out with us. Take care, guys. We'll be back soon again.